is Catherine Davenport, and this is my Module 2 reflection for Philosophy of the Environment class. Well, there are a lot of debates going on about climate change, indicating lack of certainty of what people want to look at and focus on. Others turn a blind eye because it's easy to ignore climate change because it's not necessarily visual. However, we can see it by indicating a rise in atmospheric temperature. There's been an average of 0.11 degrees Fahrenheit according to the climate change government, and 2 degrees Fahrenheit so far total increase in our atmospheric temperature. Due to the rise in global temperatures, this has glaciers melting, causing a rise in sea levels, threatening coasts and islands, along with oceans becoming more acidic, harming ecosystems. It's also caused frequent and intense weather like heat wave, droughts, floods, wildfires, storms. But it's not all with nature and the environment. It brings a huge impact to the human society, causing food scarcity, water scarcity, displacement, and economic decrease. A lot of people will debate this, however, claiming that climate change is nothing but a puff. However, these people are called climate deniers. According to Joshua Luksak, climate deniers are people who directly or indirectly attack key conclusions of mainstream climate science. He likes to call these people bullshitters. Their claims are misleading, and a bunch of these deniers are people that had a financial or political interest in communicating and discrediting other areas that do not benefit them. They try to motivate the audience into forming or maintaining beliefs that are favorable to the industry or political group that they're associated with, that completely and accurately represents the truth in their beliefs about climate change, whether they are right or wrong. This is why there has been a struggle to move forward with action and resolve the very truth that climate change is happening to us right now in the middle of it. But the big question is, why is climate change occurring? So I wanted to mention a little bit about what greenhouse gases are and the greenhouse effect, because that is what climate change is and the main cause of climate change. So the greenhouse effect is Earth's atmosphere trapping heat within itself, but emissions are increasing at an alarming rate. So the Earth is getting hotter and Earth's surface is getting hotter, which is leading to climate change. And then greenhouse gases are the gases in our atmosphere that are polluting it, which is carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. And according to NASA and many other sources and scientific evidence, climate change is predicted due to human-made greenhouse gases, which are the following listed. Warming up Earth's surfaces, but as I said, human activity is increasing these emissions. So I wanted to start that so that we could go into my next slide about how do we relate and impact climate change. So climate change is occurring because while humans and nature are independent from each other, because as Eric Katz puts it, our respect for nature means that we acknowledge the sufficiency of the natural world to sustain its own proper order throughout the whole domain of life. This means that nature can work independently of us. It has worked independently of us. It does not need us. It sustains its own life and its own flourishment and growth. But we have to look at how humans affect the environment, because we do, because no part of the world is untouched by us. This whole idea is named anthropogenic climate change, which ultimately is stating climate change is caused by human beings, with the main drivers of these being us burning fossil fuels, deforestation, and agricultural activities and practices that we do. All of these, I found a few statistics, as you can see, from the United Nations. The burning of the fossil fuels have contributed to over 75% of global greenhouse gas emissions and nearly 90% of carbon dioxide emissions, while deforestation and agriculture, along with other land use changes, contribute roughly a quarter. That is a huge, almost all the percentage of greenhouse gases that are being trapped in our Earth, heating it up. So if we were able to reduce those and cut those back, we would ultimately see a change in our atmosphere and our goals and standard of living. So now we look into how does climate change affect different areas of our planet, and it affects a bunch of our planet and areas of life. These areas include health, food, biodiversity, ocean, water, land, human security, women, population, and way more. The health of our planet is declining, which is linked to the health of people decreasing due to toxic air pollution, diminishing food security because of agriculture, increasing famine. On my next slide, you can also see I'm giving examples of how ways that in different areas it affects it. You can see with water and women, diarrhea is going to rise and decline in access. We only have 8% of potable drinking water that the earth provides. So walking to that, and it's not even clean water. We're getting diseases from this that are providing outbreaks. The ocean's going to become more acidic because of the glaciers and ice caps melting off, which are harming our marine ecosystems. We're going to have heat stress due to rising temperatures. And this is nothing short of the mental impact it will have on us. This is because you're witnessing famine. You're witnessing people being displaced from their families and homes because their cities went underwater, and anxiety and distress from global events and storms. And this is all what is happening to us right now in the present, and what's going to be about 20 years we can already see starting. It's not even our future generations. It's going to get worse, and we're going to have an increase in birth defects. We're going to have an increase in maybe even genocide. So it is plague on all roles of our livelihood. I feel like the main reason and push that we're going to have for everyone and humans to become more of an advocate for climate change, and the main concern is the economy. This is because we're very highly dependent on the economy for our survival and well-being, for allowing to provide us for things for our everyday life, such as food, shelter, industries, healthcare, education, income, employment, all leading to the quality of our life. And climate change is bringing a huge risk to that, bringing a huge risk because of the weather events that are going to happen that are going to take out huge amounts of money. I put in my notes here. An example is just recently the California fires. I saw that the recovery aid, the spending recovery aid for that was about $2.5 billion. And then additionally, $40 billion for federal government. And so that's just with the California fires that happened just recently. That's how much money we're spending on it. And then those are happening more periodically and more constantly, those types of weather events. And then you're going to have famine on top of that, and agriculture and tourism all intertwined with the economy. So we need to turn things around, reduce climate change, because if not, it's going to bring the economy down with it. And our quality of life is going to go down. Our standard of living is going to go down. And everything is going to go down. This slide, I think, is one of the most important. It is what is climate justice. And I heavily looked at the environmental justice lecture for this, saying that climate justice is a framework that recognizes the impacts of climate change on marginalized and vulnerable populations, and advocacy for the fair distribution of both the burdens of climate change, benefits of climate actions. And I said these work with racism and ecofeminism and areas of poverty to make sure that their voices are heard, and we call out for those to make sure that they are not enduring the most damages in this, and that everything is fair. And within the framework, we found 4 different climate justices: disruptive justice, justice as oppression, justice as participation, and justice as capabilities development. And I think that it's showing vulnerable communities that areas of life that are unfair and climate change taking more of a toll on their lives and standards, which we need to advocate for and be careful for, because we're not going to dig them into a deeper hole with this when they are already being exposed to toxic air and a lower life of living. Lastly, with recognizing what climate change is and that we are the main drivers to why climate change is happening in our impact, as well as what is happening and going to happen with the increase in greenhouse gases emissions, if we do not cut back, we now have to look at how do we redirect the course of our planet's future away from doom and what our plans for climate change are. We can look at mitigation, focusing on reducing the amount of greenhouse gases. We can transition to renewable energy sources, more energy efficiency, and developing new technologies to cater to capturing carbon out of our atmosphere. Next, we can adapt and adjust to the impacts of climate change now before they hit us too quickly. We can build infrastructure that is more resilient against extreme weather, droughts, floods, etc. And we can create a warning system, protect humans, and create new practices for agriculture that do not reside into a famine. However, we all can take action. Individually, you can reduce carbon footprint by reducing your transportation use, recycling, and eating less meat. This is because meat gives off methane into the air, which is a greenhouse gas. As a community, we can install policies in renewable energy as well as protest and use our voices to speak out on this issue. Lastly, for the government, we can look into adaptive plans and altering infrastructures and businesses to developing more sustainable products and services. I'm going to end this presentation with a quote that really stuck out with me by Eric Katz. He said, "This is the illusion that the restoration of nature presents to us, but is only an illusion. Once we dominate nature, once we have restored and redesigned nature for our own purposes, then we have destroyed nature. We have created an artificial reality, in a sense, a false reality, which merely provides us with the pleasant illusionary appearance of the natural environment." We can save our earth and our natural one too, even though it may not be the exact same as the original. But if we do not take action against climate change now, even if you are a climate denier, there is a chance our future generations and us, if we controlled all the other tortures it will bring, it will still have us in a false reality, which is really scary. Thank you. And these are my resources. Thank you for listening.